Well, today we are making a Valentine themed garden flag for the dollhouse. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. For our first step, let's hop over to a clip I filmed a few months ago that shows you how to get your flag base started. Then we'll come back and we'll start working on this one. All right, in preparation for making our garden flag, I've cut my piece of Ultra Hold Heat and Bond to a 1-inch square, and I've cut a piece of 100% white cotton muslin to a piece that's 1 inch by 3 inches. And I've got a wooden board to protect my table and a piece of printer paper on top of that. I know it's going to be hard to see, but white on white, but I don't want to stain my fabric. So I'm going to take this, I've already pressed this flat, and I've got my little craft iron. This is just a little tulip craft iron. You could use your regular iron that you use for pressing clothes with. This just saves me getting out my ironing board and all of that stuff, and it protects my good iron from any things that might be on my crafting project. So I'm going to take this, follow the directions on the brand of fusible web you get. I'll talk more about the fusible web on the blog post, so be sure and hop over there and get a more thorough explanation of the steps here. We do this every month, so I want to kind of go over it quickly today so we don't spend all our time. Now I'm folding this in half. I put that 1-inch square right at the end, one end of my flag, my strip. The hardest part of this whole process is many times peeling that paper backing. This reveals this shiny part, which is fabric glue. It's a heat-activated glue that will hold our fabric strip together. At this point, don't worry about these little threads hanging off. Those will be sealed once this is finished. Just using my iron to kind of press it down. I'll do a more thorough job of ironing off camera, but I want to give you the idea. Now this needs to cool, and we can move over to the work tile and start our design process. All right, now that we have our flag made, we're going to coat it with some paint. And what I have here is some Anita's craft paint in vivid pink. It also calls it rose on the other part of the label. And I'm going to put some out. Now the reason we're going to paint this pink rather than starting with pink fabric, which I get asked every once in a while, by painting this, we are sealing it. That way when I go to paint my design, this paint will already have sealed the fabric, so the paint won't run. So I can make nice fine details on my next layer. And I think this is only going to take one coat. This paint is going on really nicely. So I am going to actually now hang this on this skewer. I'm going to lay this across the bottom of my tripod, and I am going to let this paint dry all the way. And when that's dry all the way, we'll come back and start painting the details. All right, my paint is thoroughly dried on the surface. And what I did off camera is I took a pencil and I drew a line about 1/8 of an inch down from the top and the bottom. I kind of divided this into quadrants, and I wrote an L, a heart, a V, and an E. I did that off camera so I could get them placed where I wanted them, and so because you wouldn't have been able to see anyway through my hands. I have a ball tool. This one is just under 1/8 of an inch in diameter. You could probably use the end of a paintbrush handle if you don't have one. The same pink paint and some white paint. I'm going to use the other end of my ball tool to just kind of swirl this. I don't want to mix them too much. And I've got a paper towel. I'm going to start at one end and work down. So I'm going to dip. I'll have this under camera for the first couple. I'll probably have to move it after that. Dip in and then just kind of pounce it down. Now I recommend when you do yours, don't do your pencil lines as dark as I have. I did them darker than I wanted so that you guys could hopefully see them, if not on video, on the photos on the blog. So I'm just dipping in and doing kind of a mottled look. Now this will darken. The pink will darken. As you can see, the pink darkened up quite a bit from when we painted it earlier. But don't swirl that paint too much. You want, for the effect I'm going after, I want this to be quite a variation of color on my dotting tool every time. And don't worry about covering that line up with this layer. We are going to add to this. Now I'm going to do the L on camera and then I'll do the rest off because this is going to take me probably 20 minutes or so to get this exactly the way I want it. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do the letters. And we do have the ability to erase mistakes because we still have our pink background paint. If we get this totally where we don't want it, if you make a total mess, get a damp paper towel, wipe off what you don't like, let it dry, put more of the pink back on, let that dry, and then come back and do some more. But you can hopefully the camera's picking up each dot I'm making, or each time I touch this, I have both pink and white in varying amounts. So I am going to finish this up and I'm going to let it dry, and when this gets dry I'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. Alright, our paint is dried and that looks exactly the way I wanted it. Now I have a little more white paint out and we need to thin this paint down. I found that worked the best. So I've got a nice fluffy brush here and I'm just going to put a little bit of water right next to that. Then I'm going to use the fatter end of my dotting tool to kind of mix that together, wipe that off, and now using the fine pointed end. And again, I'll do part of this on camera and part off. But I found the slightly thinned paint worked the best. Not too thin or it will run. And you'll have an easier time covering your lines than I am because you won't make your lines quite as dark because you won't be trying to have them show up on camera. All right, so we're just going to do that. If you not remember, we can always erase with more pink. Like if I decide this is too thick, I can erase it with more pink, or I can pounce in some more of the two-tone. It's actually a little easier to go around these than it is to do that long line. And again, I'm not going to do the whole thing on camera. I'm going to turn the camera off after I get the L done and go ahead and I'm pushing too hard. That's why that's not doing what I want it to. Also, if you start building up paint on the top of the ball, it won't work as well as if you just have paint on the bottom. Again, this is a little time consuming, but I think it's worth it. I think it looks so pretty when it's done. All right, I'm going to turn the camera off. Excuse me, I'm going to finish outlining everything and then I'll come back and we'll fix that little boo-boo there and we will be done. All right, my paint is dried, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix any areas that I might have messed up. Like I think this is a little too wide right here, and I have some plain pink over here on the side of this. It's starting to dry, but that's okay. I'm just gonna, okay. And it will look lighter right now, but once the paint dries, it will be the same color as the other. Be sure you're staying in just the solid color there. And now I'm going to get some of that mottled color and kind of do the same thing. Kind of dip in here. Kind of even this out a little. And I think I'm happy with this now. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll meet you over at the dollhouse and we can see how it looks. Well, there is our garden flag on the front porch of the dollhouse. I love how this one turned out. It's very cute. It reminds me a lot of the one I saw online that I used for inspiration. There'll be more information about that over on the blog post, so be sure and check the blog post out along with some photographs. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit the like button, leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see in future videos? If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I encourage you, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put out a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!